it on there?
It,
Oh, cool. Go ahead.
All right, behind us we have, it's basically a landmark that shows the start. The rapid, the first rapid we're going to run today is Big Canyon Rapid. Then we have about 2.5, 3 miles, and we'll be in the lower canyons themselves. We're going to do probably about 10 or 11 miles today. Total of 2 named rapids that we'll run. Camp out tonight. And then the weather before we left showed Saturday and Sunday being kind of bad, so we'll just have to gauge it in the morning throughout tonight to see how it's going to be tomorrow if we're going to keep on going. We're pretty ahead of schedule right now as far as mileage goes. Put some money in the bank, you know, make sure we can get the trip done on time, and also to afford us the opportunity once we get into the lower canyons to hike some of the side canyons and shoot some photos, do some video off the river. One thing that's really surprised me about this trip, this is the first time that I've ever paddled through a desert. It's really weird to be in this water, this very lush environment, and then every now and then there's a break in the river cane and you see cactus, you see the octilio, prickly pears, just sand and rocks. There's a lot of flowers actually blooming though, because right before we came down here, that big old hurricane that came across Mexico, it broke up and brought a lot of rain to this region. And so surprisingly, the desert has a lot of color in it right now. That's one of the things that has surprised me about this trip. What about you?
Yeah, yesterday I was actually surprised by the catfish that we seen in some of the eddies. As I was paddling along, I heard something splash really loud. At first I thought it was just maybe a turtle or something, but then as I paddled on by, I noticed these black things on the top of the water, and then when I got right up on it, I seen the mouths of the catfish actually feeding on the surface. And of course catfish are known to be bottom feeders, so it was kind of unique to see them actually up on the very surface of the water eating something. It looked like maybe some seeds off some of the foliage that had blown into the water possibly, but that was really cool. And there's some big catfish out here. One of the guys that we met that operates the ranch where we put in at showed me some pictures, and he's got some that would probably look like 60, 70 pound range. So there's some really big catfish out here in this river.
Yeah, the catfish were really surprising. I've never seen them up top. I've seen carp come up to the surface and feed, but I don't believe I've ever seen catfish. And one thing, I'm amazed by the amount of turtles we've seen on the river. Some of them, you can tell they don't want to get in the water because they'll hang out right till you get up on them. And most of the rivers in the southeast, as soon as turtles will see you, they're jumping in the water. These are a little bit more laid back, I would guess. Yesterday we paddled through Outlaw Flats. It's got a lot of straightaways, and battled the headwind pretty much all day. We still made pretty good distance, so we're getting in the mornings, you know, we have kind of a pretty leisurely start, you know, paddling about 5-6 hours a day. Yesterday we were pretty worn out, and luckily we had leftovers from the night before. Just threw them back in the Dutch oven, added some baked beans. I think that's the first time baked beans have ever been added to Japanese curry rice. But it turned out pretty good, and we might be eating it again tonight because we'll have to figure out. That's one thing that's kind of fun about coming out and camping, is that you can just, you know, make stuff up, and with your cooking, and you're usually so hungry, even if it's mediocre, it tastes like you're in a 5-star restaurant.
Yes, indeed.
Plus, you know, add a little bit of that smoke to it. Yeah, it was funny when we pulled up to the campsite yesterday. We talked about the bulls and the cows. One of the things we found, I heard this metallic sound. It's like, that's kind of strange. So we went up, and there was a old fish camp, and lures out everywhere. Kind of neat little setup. But I guess, you know, there's 4-wheel drive trails down here, but you'd have to have a sure enough 4-wheel drive to get down to this place, because the Jeep trail was all washed out. and that's probably why they haven't been back in a while.
About it, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess so.
Well, we'll see you later on.